Welcome to Talk of the Nation. I'm JT, and welcome back from the bye week as the Silver and Black have a big game coming up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We open up the show with the former Pro Bowl tackle, the great Lincoln Kennedy. And Lincoln, this has been a fluid week. There's a lot happening with the team and the organization since Trent Brown and the news when he went into COVID-19 protocol, and several players haven't practiced this week. How do you think the Raiders rally around all of this and beat the Bucs?
Well, first of all, it's good to be with you, JT. And just so you know, I have not been reactivated by the Raiders, but I am up to call if need to. I would definitely be out there. But you know what? It's an interesting week. It's one of those things where you have to proceed with caution. And I've been very worried about how to move forward this week with the Bucs. One, they've got a good defense. They've got a couple good rush ends as well as some linebackers. They've got a really good team. And I don't really want to risk. I would not want to risk Derek Carr if we're not at full health. Now, we can probably play minus one man. We know Trent Brown is out. But with all the speculation surrounding the other five players and the players, that are in there or can't be in there, can't be in practice until Sunday or can't come in the facility until Sunday, I'm a little concerned about this game. But you gotta move forward. You got to play.
Lincoln, let's stay with this. Coming off the bye week, too, so players are rested, players are getting healthy. You've told me over the years when you were even injured, you were ready to play on game day. You looked forward to game day to protect your quarterback, Rich Gannon. So what do you think this offensive line is thinking as they're trying to prepare this week and they're not on the field?
Got to be chomping at the bit. The four guys that were sent home, the rest of the remaining starting offensive line, you can imagine their difficulties. One, they can't leave their place. Two, they can't. So I don't know what they can do workout wise. I don't know how they're set up at home. They have to isolate. And three, they're sitting on their couches. They're sitting at home for 5 days. I mean, you can imagine coming through the bye week, how you want to get back to work and anticipate getting back to work, looking forward to going up against a good team in that challenge. But the truth of the matter is that you can't do anything. Everything has to be like we're doing right now, a Zoom or a virtual meeting.
Well, the Broncos beat the Patriots when the Patriots were dealing with something similar and they lost days in their facility. I want to get back to the Chiefs' win and what that meant for this organization. That was such a monster win. Derek Carr gets his first win at Arrowhead. They were dominant in the second half of the game. Let's talk about the momentum that was built on the field after that great victory.
Well, I can't stand the Chiefs, so the rivalry is deep within me. But the fact that the Raiders got their first win in Kansas City since 2012 was outstanding. It was a great team effort. And I tell you what, JT, I was really impressed because they outplayed, they outcoached, they out everything the Chiefs on that Sunday.
Let's move on to the Chiefs and Le'Veon Bell, and Ngakoue goes to Baltimore. There was a lot of movement here over the last week or two. And what about the Raiders with the NFL trade deadline around the corner? Do you think Mike Mayock is really good with this roster, or there could be an upgrade or two coming?
Well, you know what? It's kind of hard to tell where their deficiencies at. This is a very young team, and despite injuries, which you can't really necessarily account for, I don't know if you have any more, gaping holes. Maybe at the linebacker spot, but there's not a lot of good people that are just free out there or that you can give up a lot of collateral with. Gruden and Mayock have decided to build this team from the bottom up, starting with young guys. I doubt very seriously if they go after an older veteran that might be out there and that they can't possibly get for a good price.
Lincoln, a big topic we both talked about on radio is players requesting trades now. I've never seen this before. If a player doesn't like it, if he doesn't like the record of his team, he wants out and is requesting a trade. Is this a trend? Do you expect to see more of this in years to come?
You know what? In our lifetime, we've seen a lot of things happen, JT. You and I have been around each other for a long time. First, I had never seen players actually tweet out their injuries and let it be known where they were injured and put it on social media. And now these days, you've got people who are apologizing by Twitter. And more importantly, they're as you mentioned, asking for trades. I think this is a trend that I don't know how you get a hold of it because you can't keep anything in-house. And you got to remember, a lot of times it's not the players. It's these agents that advise these guys to get out there. Make someone seem like you're bitter and force their hand. I don't necessarily think it's good business, but I think it's something of the future that we're going to have to expect.
Lincoln, when you and I were streaming at that first practice and Allegiant Stadium opened up, if I told you the Raiders could beat Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes on the road, and then Tom Brady, what would you have said at that point in time? I would have taken that all day long.
There's no doubt about it. And the fact that they're at 3-2 at this point is a tremendous credit to this coaching staff as well as the team. You know what? We're putting our best foot forward, and they still got a lot of season left to play, but they're off to a damn good start.
Lincoln, I want to go back to John Gruden. This is a big moment for him to rally this team and this organization. You could tell he's on edge in a good way. He understands where this team is with the record. Can you touch on Coach Gruden and what he needs to do to have this team ready to play with all the schedule changes and what's happening with the team?
Well, you know what? It's a management nightmare if you think about it. But John Gruden, I think at one of the press conferences I heard before the bye, he said he'd like to have double headers and get back out there, especially while the team was rolling after that big Kansas City win. But the schedule is what the schedule is, and you have to deal with it. And this thing coming up with the pandemic and the players being sent home, there's a ton of question marks, but you still have to press forward. I think I would much rather Gruden err on the side of caution with this next game than really try to force a hand, because the last thing we need is another detrimental injury.
As always, thanks, Lincoln. And coming up next, one of the great insiders from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Vinny Bonsignore, joins us next on Talk of the Nation.
This has been brought to you by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now, only at Allegiant.com. Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Coors Light, an official beer of Raider Nation made to chill. Presented by San Manuel Casino, official Southern California casino of Allegiant Stadium.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. One of the great insiders in the NFL, and he covers the Raiders, Vinny Bonsignore. And Vinny, a really big week for you, breaking news, covering the Trent Brown story. What's this week been like covering the Raiders?
Yeah, it's been, a sign of the times, JT, as far as all of this COVID-19 madness. I'd prefer just being able to write about football and the normal injuries and things like that that you have to deal with in football. This has thrown, a major curveball in everybody's lives for various reasons. And for us, it's things like this week. Trent Brown tests positive for COVID-19. We wish him well, obviously. But because, he's in close contact with certain teammates, then they fall into a certain category. They have to go into quarantine, which means they can't come into the building and practice. And then their eligibility for Sunday's game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers becomes in jeopardy. So it's just this domino effect that this virus continues to have. And it really is a reminder, just take care of yourself, follow all the rules, do what you're supposed to do. And put everybody in the best possible position. That unfortunately didn't happen this week, and the Raiders, might have to pay a dear price for that.
Vinny, let's talk about the franchise move to Vegas. I believe that you covered this story better than anyone. You had a lot of the breaking news first. Now you've moved your family here. You're here in this community covering the team. Let's go back to your initial reporting when there was talk about the Raiders moving from Oakland to Vegas and how you focused on breaking news and covering this the right way.
Yeah, and ironically enough, it wasn't planned for me to be out here. That was a whole separate other type of a situation that occurred. But really, it is the result of the Raiders moving here to Las Vegas. I just remember, JT, it was very soon after the Raiders obviously were essentially shut out of their pursuit of Los Angeles. The Rams got the first bid in Inglewood, and the Chargers got that second option to join them. And I just remember, the Raiders were disappointed, hugely disappointed. Where were they going to go? Obviously things weren't working out in Oakland, but they had to go back and try as a result of that. But one thing that happened in Houston that I always felt went appreciated was the fact that the Raiders were given the green light to move. The league said, you know what, you're in position. If you need to move, you can move. You've got our blessing to be able to pursue other, locations, because things weren't happening in Oakland. And that was an important distinction because it allowed the Raiders to then turn their attention to other cities, if they wanted to pursue a new stadium there with the blessing basically of the NFL. And so that was, as much as they lost that night in Houston, not being able to go to Los Angeles, they did have that assurance and that clearance, which turned out to be a big thing, obviously.
Well, I remember a lot of people doubted your reporting, and you nailed it. Your sources were incredible. Now you're in this facility more than I am, more than anybody. Tell us about the improved facilities, the stadium, and what we have now in Henderson, and how this helps the organization going forward, getting better players, better facilities overall, and will help this team get to a championship level again.
Yeah, well, and I'm here right now. It's spectacular. It's beautiful. I've seen a number of great facilities around the NFL. There's no doubt there's some really beautiful locations out there, but this is bar none the best that I've seen. And I haven't even been able to see the entire facility due to the COVID restrictions. To put this in perspective, though, the Raiders arrived here in Las Vegas, earlier this year, officially from Oakland. Obviously, they played their last season in Oakland. They made the move to Las Vegas. Not only do they step foot in their new home, being able to step foot in a brand new stadium, beautiful stadium at Allegiant Stadium, Allegiant Stadium, but then also simultaneous to all that, they were building this facility. In year one, be able to step foot in this gorgeous facility. Again, to put that in perspective, the Rams have been in Los Angeles now since 2016. They haven't even identified where they want to build their permanent new facility, let alone started building it. Neither have the Chargers, and they've been there since 2017. Both are at temporary sites, trying to make do, trying to locate the necessary land, get the necessary political improvement to be able to go ahead and build what they want to build. And both of those teams I know have spectacular plans as well, but they just haven't been able to lock things down. Imagine that. And in the Raiders' first year here, they've already got all of that put down and put together to step foot day one in this new facility. It's a game changer for the organization, talking to players who just love this facility. And as you mentioned, there's no doubt that it's going to be, a jewel that they can, show future free agents, coaches, whatever the case might be. Look at where you get to come to work every single day. It makes for a great new start for the Raiders, and to me sets up a really solid future for them as well. And that's what this is all about.
Vinny, finally, the challenges of covering a team during COVID. You have a sports talk show and obviously a great journalist. You don't get that one-on-one interaction with the coaches and the players. Has that been a struggle? What are you doing to evolve in that area of journalism as you cover this team?
Yeah, there's no doubt. One of the things that I try to, I guess, pride myself on is just getting to know guys and having a relationship with guys so that they understand, like, hey, I'm always going to be fair. That doesn't mean I'm always going to write great things. I mean, sometimes guys make mistakes, or, you lose games, or somebody drops a pass or fumbles, and you have to write that type of stuff. But as long as they know that you're coming from a good place, like an honest place, they understand that. They get that part of it. But being able to look somebody in the eye and get to know them, a lot of my best conversations with athletes goes beyond football or basketball, whatever the sport might be. How's your wife? How's the family? How are you getting along in the new area? What their interests are, and things outside of sports where you actually get to know these guys and have a better understanding and appreciation for who they are. That's the part that I miss.
Thanks for joining us, Vinny. When we come back, former Raiders defensive back Stanford Routt as we continue on Talk of the Nation.
Brought to you by Modelo, setting the gold standard for authentic Mexican beer since 1925. Modelo, brewed for those with a fighting spirit.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation. Former defensive back for the Silver and Black, Stanford Routt, kind enough to join us. Stanford, great to see you. Tell us what you've been up to.
Oh, man, what haven't I been up to is probably a better way to go ahead and start that off. Like I said, I got my own real estate company where I invest in a lot of houses, rent them out, even apartment complexes as well. I coach high school ball out here in Houston, Texas. And I also do some broadcasting, doing color commentary for ESPN college football and some analyst work for Fox Sports.
Well, you're familiar with the Chiefs and Raiders rivalry as good as anyone. Tell us what you thought about the Raiders' big win in Arrowhead. Big win, especially for Derek Carr getting his first win at Arrowhead.
Oh, man, I'd love to see it. And it went exactly how I figured it would as far as for the Las Vegas. I still have a problem saying, not saying Oakland sometimes. I knew that for Las Vegas to go ahead and secure the victory, it was going to have to come down to the run game. They did a good job in the back end and the secondary of eliminating the big play for the Chiefs and making Pat Mahomes throw from the pocket. When they did make him scramble, they were able to go ahead and stick to their man and actually disallow some of those plays that he's able to make when he gets outside the pocket, finding guys on the run. So I think think that it was a great team victory, but definitely one that they can use to go ahead and springboard down the line.
Trayvon Mullen has emerged as the Raiders' #1 corner. The great play out of Clemson. Assess his play early in his career so far.
I think he's a young guy, obviously. He's still got some growing to do, and I think that he's making some strides right now. And I think that for this Paul Guenther type of defense, I think the main thing is that they got to make sure that they eliminate the big play. And that's something that we've seen them get better at throughout this early part of the season. So I think that the sky's the limit for a young kid like him. Obviously, the moment's never going to be too big. Him coming out of Clemson, playing in big games for Dabo Sweeney and things like that. So I think that collectively, as a unit, I think that the sky is definitely the limit.
Well, throughout your career, you played against the GOAT, Tom Brady. Tell us about that. Was it different preparing for Tom Brady than other quarterbacks?
Oh, obviously. I mean, he's the GOAT. That's why they call him that for a reason. Tom is very accurate with his passes. He's very good at anticipating windows opening up and also windows closing. But the main thing is that, especially with the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick tree, is that whatever you don't do well, you are going to get a heavy dose of that all game long. It may come in a form of a certain formation, the personnel. It may come through motion. It may come through window dressing, things like that. But we all know that Tom Brady, his legacy, his resume is unmatched. It's unparalleled to anyone else. So it's definitely going to be a big task on Sunday.
Let's stay with that and getting him outside the pocket or keeping him in the pocket. That pass rush coming from up the middle is key. And when you're a corner, you got to cover because he always seems to throw to the open guy and change the play and find the guy that seems to be wide open.
Yeah, many of my early years with the Oakland Raiders, Rob Ryan, our defense coordinator, used to always say, we got to get him off the spot. And whenever you got a guy like Tom Brady who loves to stay in the pocket, stand tall, he's not somebody who's really mobile or someone who wants to be mobile. With guys like him, you want to push him outside the pocket. So you want to pressure him from straight up the middle to try to get him outside the pocket because he's not at his best when he's on the move. He's not at his best whenever he's outside the pocket versus the Lamar Jacksons, the Aaron Rodgers, the even Pat Mahomes or the Russell Wilsons for that nature. So I think that that's something that's going to be paramount. It's going to be imperative that the Las Vegas Raiders make sure that they attack Tom Brady from the correct areas, not from the opposite.
When you're a defensive back and you go from the speed of Kansas City to the size of Tampa Bay, what's that adjustment like?
Oh, well, number one, you got to win the 50-50 balls. Tom Brady is someone who likes to be very efficient. He's someone who doesn't like to take a lot of chances, as we see throughout the entirety of his career. Someone who throws a lot of touchdown passes, but not many interceptions. Well, with this group, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we see that last year, Jameis Winston, someone who led the NFL, and I believe in passing yards, was a part of the 30-30 club that I don't think has ever happened in the NFL, but it's because he took a lot of chances, but he also knows he's got a lot of guys that can make plays. So when you add a Rob Gronkowski into that mix, he's 6'7", tight end. You got Mike Evans, Galveston, Texas A&M University. He's about 6'5", can jump out of the gym. You got a Chris Godwin. You got so many guys on that roster that are able to win 50-50 balls and be able to go up for the ball that Tom Brady is going to give them chances to do just that. So I think that whenever you're playing against guys like that, from my days going back to the San Diego Chargers with Vincent Jackson and Malcolm Floyd and Antonio Gates, you have to be able to go up for the ball with them because even though they may not be able to outrun you down the field, they can still get big plays.
You have a brick outside Allegiant Stadium and one at home. What did that mean to you when Mark Davis made that move and sent you a legacy brick?
Man, it was such a nostalgic feeling. Simply because I remember my days in Oakland, just like everybody else does, and there were some of my best days of my life. Many of them were. So to actually get that brick, it put everything kind of in perspective because even now, with me not playing football anymore, but still being around the game, there's times where I can see a highlight of myself. Somebody may send something to me on Twitter or Instagram or something like that where there's times where I'm kind of like, wow, like I did used to play in the NFL. Like I did get that interception to the house or something like that. So it just brings back such a nostalgic feeling as far as a past life of mine that I once lived, but cherish more than anything else.
Stanford, we knew you'd knock it out of the park. Thanks for doing this. And when we come back, the Raiders have to make a statement on Talk of the Nation.
Coors Light, an official beer of Raider Nation, made to chill.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation. And the Raiders had a challenging week, to say the least. And there is no sympathy from around the NFL. This league has been built on next man up, and everyone just has to deal with it. And there is no better coach in this league than John Gruden to get this team ready for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is laser focused this week, dealing with all the distractions and putting the best roster out on the field on Sunday. And if you take a look at this league and what is going to happen next, the Raiders have a great opportunity to do something fantastic. If I would have told you before the start of the season, Tom Brady's coming to town, you got an opportunity to beat Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead, and the great Tom Brady coming to Vegas for the first time and most likely the last, everyone in the Raider Nation would take this. So the Raiders have to stand up and play an unbelievable game from the beginning and close it out. This is a huge opportunity for this organization and this team, the way Al Davis would want it, the way Mark Davis expects this team to step up and win. And I'm excited about this opportunity for every player on this team because they are up for the challenge. For everyone at Silver and Black Productions, I'm JT. Next up is the Cleveland Browns. Thanks for joining us on Talk of the Nation.
This has been brought to you by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now, only at Allegiant.com. Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of the Las Vegas Raiders. Brought to you by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of the Raiders. Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders.